A lot has been made about Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts' time to throw in bringing that number down during this offseason cycle. This all really started because Eagles quarterback coach Doug Nussmeier made a comment that I think the vast majority of the Philadelphia media and some of the fan base, they just honestly misunderstood what he was saying. And that quote was pretty much,
well, I mean, we all know Jalen's a very athletic quarterback, and I think one of the things when you coach athletic quarterbacks is you never want to take away that natural athletic ability that they have. Some guys are built to stay in the pocket and be only pocket passers. Jalen's a guy that has the ability to extend plays, and you talk about the league, and everybody's always looking at how do we extend plays and how can you get plays above the 2.3, when you can break the defense down.
He later clarified by then trying to add a little bit of context to what he means by that 2.3 marker and kind of off-schedule plays and like how the offense is structured when those occurred.
Well, in the passing game, to us, when you talk about the passing game, you have the, in-phase passing game where there's a progression where the quarterback's going bang to bang to bang. And hopefully we're getting wins from the wideouts there, and the ball's coming out on time to this part of the progression. And those are well-defined. But then, defenses in this league are good and they're going to cover you sometimes. So then it's everybody, and we train it. What we call the scramble phase is where we're going to the next phase and where ideally we'd like the quarterback to get out and where we'd like the receiver placement to be. And then, and then you go to the third down situations when people drop 8 on you. And now you're not going to have receivers necessarily open in the timing and rhythm of the progression of plays. And everybody's got to understand that we've got to work to the next phase. So there's, as it may look at times, there's chaos, but hopefully we're educating our guys and we're playing with structured chaos above the 2.3.
And then in a last-ditch effort, he tried one more time to kind of contextualize what he means about playing within rhythm, timing, and structure of the offense, that 2.3-second marker that most of the NFL uses, and then kind of clarifying like what you do when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who is pretty gifted when you go off schedule. Like, how do you build the offense to encompass this ability?
Well, you get to thresholds, whatever your threshold may be, as some people would say 2.3, some people would use other terms as far as, when you look at a natural time clock of passing plays and what happens and when do they break down.
So that's your
No, not necessarily mine, but that's a number you'll hear thrown around a lot. The 2.3 is the number you hear a lot.
That leads us to today's topic, which is the origins of Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier's system. Jack Elway, Cactus Jack, Dennis Erickson, and then eventually Scott Linehan, who would take this system and hand it down to Doug Nussmeier. All right, guys, let's get into this like Cam Newton at the line of scrimmage yelling out 51. Easy, easy, easy. Larry Allen, all right. Hut, hut, hut. The origins of Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier's system, I mean, it goes way back, guys. If you want to understand this concept and get the 2.3-second comments he's making, you got to go all the way back to the 1970s. You got to go all the way back to Jack Newmeyer. I know it sounds a lot like Doug Nussmeier, but very similar ending to their name, not from what I can tell, not related per se. But Cactus Jack, or Jack Newmeyer, is the guy who really is credited with inventing the spread offense. Well, one thing you might not know about Cactus Jack is he was the high school football coach of none other than John Elway. So, when Jack Elway was coaching San Jose State, Dennis Erickson, guy who later went on to coach Miami, when Jack Elway is at San Jose State, he hires Dennis Erickson to be his offensive coordinator, and he puts him in touch with his son's high school coach in Jack Newmeyer, Cactus Jack, and they start exchanging notes on creating the spread offense. What you need to know about this spread offense is it has a lot of labels. Some people label it the one-back, 11 personnel spread offense. Others called it basketball on grass, which leads us to the point of contention you hear from people like John McMullen, who's quite literally has said a few times, like if they're asking Jalen Hurts to play the point guard of the offense and just spread the ball out, I'm not too sure that fits the playmakers. I'm not too sure that fits Jalen Hurts' playing style. That's an opinion. I don't necessarily agree with that opinion, but I don't think he's making this up out of thin air, guys. I mean, he absolutely is nailing, the nail on the head in terms of this system in itself structurally from the bones what it is. What you need to know about Erickson is he leaves San Jose State, gets his first head coaching gig at Idaho, and guess who is his quarterback at Idaho? Scott Linehan. So, following Scott Linehan's college, career, he ends up becoming a coach himself, and in the late 80s, early 90s, when he is the offensive coordinator for a defensive-minded head coach at Idaho, John L. Smith's staff, well, Scott Linehan has a quarterback. Can you take a wild guess who Scott Linehan's quarterback is? It's Doug Nussmeier. So you can see really quickly you have this spread offense concepts coming down from essentially Jack Newmeyer down to basically Dennis Erickson, from Dennis Erickson to Scott Linehan to Doug Nussmeier. And then when Scott Linehan got his coaching gig with the St. Louis Rams at the time in the mid-2000s, who do you think he brings in to be his quarterback coach? Doug Nussmeier. What I think is absolutely fascinating about this system is, and this gets overlooked in the conversation, you have a blending of two things happening. Number one, you have this Jack Newmeyer spread offense concept coming in and blending, smashing, crashing face first into that late 90s, early 2000s Rich Rodriguez option read RPO-based offense. Now they're coming together and slamming into each other with Jalen Hurts in this offense here in Philadelphia. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be like this great thing, but it's dang sure interesting from a football perspective to watch it play out. Let me revisit the basketball on grass comments I made, and just the fact that a lot of people who critique and criticize this offense will point out it is a lot of comeback routes, right? Comeback routes, hitches, things like that, guys. It's a lot of quick in-breaking routes along with quick timing breaking, out-breaking routes that kind of get facilitated hand in hand with these ideas of playing within the rhythm of the offense, all right? Playing as a fine, tuned orchestra, if you will. Not everyone loves that. Simply put, everyone loves that, and there is a lot of criticism of that. You'll hear a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans really criticize the hooks, the curls, the comebacks, all those things inside of the offense that they had when Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator there and Doug Nussmeier was their quarterback coach. Now, what I will say is when you hear the 2.3 marker that everyone keeps mentioning, they're saying this stuff without understanding the context in which they're speaking. And to begin with, if you're thinking that you're going to get multiple time to throws inside of football games of, let's just even give it to 2.5 seconds or less, okay? So the amount of times that you get the ball out on average for a single football game to be 2.5 seconds or less, these people are absolutely insane. From 2019 to 2022, when Dak Prescott played for Kellen Moore, do you know what the total number of times he had the ball from 2.5 or less? 10 times, guys. 10 times, okay? Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush played in a couple games for them as well, and he's got to be factored in, right? Do you know how many times that Cooper Rush basically had the football in his hands for 2.5 seconds or less? 5 times, right? Makes more sense with Cooper Rush. He's not Dak Prescott. He's not going to try to extend plays and push the ball downfield. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was his quarterback last year. Do you know how many times Justin Herbert had a marker of 2.5 seconds or less? Twice. Easton Stick. Easton Stick was the backup when he got hurt. Played in like 4 or 5 games for them, right? How many games did he have of 2.5 seconds or less? 1. When everything is tallied and totaled up, over the 5 years of coaching experience Kellen Moore has as an offensive coordinator, a span of quarterbacks that includes Dak Prescott, Andy Dalton, Cooper Rush, Justin Herbert, Easton Sticks, okay? When you look at the totality here of 5 seasons, how many games has this quarterback thrown the ball in 2.5 seconds or under? 23 total times. 5 times from Andy Dalton, 10 times from Dak, 5 times from Cooper Rush, twice from Justin Herbert, and once from Easton Stick. That's it. I think that this conversation's being taken a little out of context because people aren't understanding that you can hurry the offense up, but it's still a balanced equation over how long it takes you to get the deep shots out compared to those short throws. You kind of need to have a little bit more context. And I would even start off by saying people are misunderstanding that he's not talking about necessarily getting the ball out of his hands in 2.3 seconds. He's saying that most offenses are structured okay, from the route progressions to get through them within 2.3 seconds, okay? And then from there, you normally kind of have to do some finagling around the pocket, or that's when your play starts to break down. You go off schedule, and then you have to kind of create as a quarterback. It can be still within the pocket. It can be while rolling the pocket. It can be as a scramble, or it can be scrambling, if you will. So, I mean, there's different ways of looking at this and evaluating it, guys. I think people are taking this way out of context. And to further bring clarity to this, the NFL is measured by 2.6 seconds. So each and every game is measured from the amount of times you get the ball out of your hands in 2.6 seconds or less compared to the amount of times it takes you 2.6 seconds or greater to get the ball out of your hands. And when I look over each and every quarterback of note here, I'm not going to go over the guys like Andy Dalton and stuff, but when I look over guys like Dak Prescott, when I look over guys such as like Justin Herbert, and I total up their stuff, this is what I see, guys. Dak Prescott, 46% of his throws were under 2.6 seconds in terms of 2019. In 2020, it was 48.6% of his throws. All right, in 2021, it was 56.5% of his throws. In 2022, it's 52.3% of his throws. And then in 2023 with Justin Herbert, it was 57% of his throws. You can see since basically 2021, Kellen Moore's quarterbacks have gotten the ball out of their hands in 2.6 seconds or less in over half of their passing attempts, which does lead us to a very interesting conversation around Jalen Hurts, admittedly. Right? Jalen has definitely been one of the guys who takes longer to throw the ball. So does Patrick Mahomes. There's a balancing act to this, guys. I think it's reasonable to suspect we're going to see more quick development from the route progressions, right? We're going to see the time to throw probably creep down a little bit. But I think people are making too much of this because what I just told you, right? You would think that these guys have incredible time to throw numbers, right? Well, in 2019, Dak had a 2.88 second time to throw. In 2020, Andy Dalton had a 2.5 second time to throw. And then Dak Prescott had a 2.77 time to throw. 2021, Dak had a 2.75 second time to throw. In 2022, Dak had a 2.72 second time to throw, while Cooper Rush had a 2.57 second time to throw. In 2023, Justin Herbert had a 2.8 second time to throw, while Easton Stick had a 2.82 second time to throw. Yes, Jalen taking around 3 seconds to throw the ball, I would imagine that number is going to come down underneath Kellen Moore and underneath Doug Nussmeier. I do think that there's going to be a genuine attempt to close the window on that. And saying that, though, I think people are still overreacting to the situation, guys. I don't think it's going to be as negative as people think, and I do think there is reason to suspect that during games where we're getting certain looks and teams are playing back deep on us and they're not allowing things over their head, you've got to take what the defense gives you. This should not be controversial that Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier are working with the quarterbacks, not just Jalen Hurts, all of our quarterbacks, in terms of getting into rhythm and timing and making sure you get to the right progression, the right read to take what the defense gives you on these looks. Now, throwing the check down versus Jalen Hurts just running for it as a third read, like on a 3rd and 7+. That's tough, guys. I don't know. I don't know where that stands yet. I think we have to let that work its way out. Jalen Hurts is a different type of quarterback than what he's had previously. We'll have to see the way, as I stated before, this kind of Jack Newmeyer spread offense, right, comes and meets this Rich Rodriguez zone read and then RPO offense slams into each other. And how they blend and mesh all this stuff, guys. I don't have the answers until they put it on the freaking film. Until we get in season, it's on film. All right, guys, I appreciate your time and attention. Listen, we're going to talk more about this quarterback stuff. I'm not done. I have plenty of examples to pull out from you. In the future, I'm going to talk about other topics that deal with this. So we're going to talk about, simply put, passing attempts in games, right? And how that works its way out. And where I see maybe some red flags in terms of passing attempts getting away from the run game. And we're going to talk about a whole list of other things, guys. We're going to talk about average depth of target. I'm going to break down everything for you. You just got to hang tight with me. It's going to take me some time to pull evidence for you and show it on screen. But outside of that, guys, if you want a, kind of a review of the Kellen Moore system, you want me to break down another aspect of it on a video that I already have posted, guys, take a look right here. Boom. That's where you'll find it. I appreciate each and every one of you so much, and I will see you guys on the next video.